The great hall of the Valorian palace was silent. Thousands of nobles stood in perfect rows, their silver skin glowing under the crystal lights. They watched Princess Yuna walk toward the throne, where her father, the emperor, waited with tired eyes. Yuna kept her head high. Her long white hair flowed behind her like a river of moonlight. She wore the ceremonial dress of a treaty bride, a gown of deep purple that marked her as a sacrifice for peace. Every step felt heavy. Every breath hurt. The war with the Krath coalition had lasted 60 years. Millions had died. Planets had burned. The Valorian Empire was strong, but even the strongest grew tired of endless death. When the humans offered to help negotiate peace, the Emperor accepted. But peace had a price. The price was Yuna. She would marry the human ambassador. It was a simple trade. Her hand in marriage for human protection and support. The humans were new to the galactic stage. They had only been traveling among the stars for 200 years. Most species saw them as children, weak, soft, and unimportant. But they were clever. And they had somehow made themselves useful to both sides of the war. Yuna reached the throne and knelt before her father. The Emperor looked down at her with something that might have been sadness, or perhaps it was relief. She could never tell what he truly felt. "My daughter," he said, his voice echoing through the hall. "You have agreed to this union for the sake of our people. Your sacrifice will not be forgotten." Sacrifice. Yes, that was the right word. She was being sacrificed to an alien species that most Valorians considered barely more than animals. Humans had no special powers. They could not read minds like the Valorians. They could not survive in space without suits. They lived short lives and died from simple diseases. They were fragile creatures from a small blue planet at the edge of nowhere. "I accept my duty," Yuna said. Her voice did not shake. She had practiced those words 1,000 times. The Emperor nodded and raised his hand. The great doors at the far end of the hall opened, and the human delegation entered. There were 5 of them. 4 wore the black uniforms of human military officers. They walked with straight backs and careful steps, clearly trying to show respect. But it was the 5th one who drew Yuna's attention. He was tall for a human, though still shorter than most Valorians. His hair was black and cut short. His skin was a warm brown color, darker than the pale silver of her people. He wore simple clothes, a white shirt and dark pants with a jacket over them. No armor, no weapons, no ceremonial dress. This was Ji-hun, her future husband. He walked toward the throne with a calm expression on his face. There was no fear in his eyes, no nervousness in his steps. He moved like a man taking a walk through a garden, not like someone entering a hall full of beings who could crush him with a thought. Yuna studied him carefully. She had seen pictures before, but pictures could not capture the strange energy that humans gave off. They were so alive. Their hearts beat faster than Valorian hearts. Their blood ran warmer. They breathed more often and moved more quickly. Everything about them seemed rushed, as if they were always running out of time. Perhaps they were. Humans lived less than 100 years on average. Yuna was already 300 years old, and she was considered young. To her, Ji-hun was like a candle, bright for a moment, then gone forever. He stopped before the throne and bowed. It was a simple bow, nothing fancy. Some nobles whispered at the lack of proper form. Yuna ignored them. "Emperor," Ji-hun said. His voice was deeper than she expected. "Thank you for this honor. I promise to protect your daughter with my life." Protect her? Yuna almost laughed. What could this soft creature protect her from? She was trained in combat since childhood. She could kill a man with her mind if she wished. The idea of needing protection from a human was almost insulting, but she said nothing. This was politics, not truth. The Emperor stood and gestured for Yuna to rise. The ceremony will take place in 3 days. Until then, you will have time to know each other. I hope this union brings peace to all our peoples. The formal part was over. Nobles began to talk among themselves, and servants rushed to prepare food and drinks. Yuna was supposed to greet her future husband properly now. She walked down the steps toward him, her guards following close behind. Ji-hoon smiled at her. It was a gentle smile, warm and open. There was nothing fake about it. "Princess Yuna," he said, "I know this is not what you wanted. I know you see this as a prison sentence. But I want you to know that I will never force you to do anything. This marriage is political. It does not have to be anything more unless you wish it." Yuna blinked. She had expected many things: arrogance, nervousness, false flattery. She had not expected honesty. "You speak plainly," she said. "I see no reason to lie. We will be spending a lot of time together. Lies would only make things harder." She studied his face. Humans were difficult to read. They did not have the mental presence that Valorians had. Their thoughts were hidden, locked behind walls of flesh and bone. It was like trying to read a book with no words. "What do you know about me?" she asked. "I know you are a warrior. I know you fought in the Battle of 7 Moons and killed 3 enemy commanders yourself. I know you speak 12 languages and have written books on military strategy. I know you hate this marriage, but agreed to it because you love your people more than yourself." Yuna felt something shift inside her. He had done his research. More than that, he understood. Most people saw her as just a princess, a pretty face to be traded for power. This human saw more. "And what do you want from me?" she asked. "Nothing you do not wish to give." A noble walked past them and whispered to his companion, loud enough for both to hear. "Such a waste. Our finest princess, married to a creature that cannot even survive in sunlight without protection." Ji-hoon did not react. His smile did not fade. But Yuna saw something flash in his eyes just for a moment. It was gone before she could understand it. "Shall we walk?" he asked. "I would like to see the gardens. I heard Valorian flowers sing when the wind blows." Yuna nodded slowly. "Very well. Follow me." They walked through the palace together, her guards keeping a distance behind them. Ji-hoon asked questions about everything: the architecture, the history, the art on the walls. His curiosity seemed genuine. He listened when she spoke and remembered what she said. In the gardens, he stopped before a bed of silver flowers. The wind touched them, and they made soft sounds like tiny bells. "Beautiful," he said quietly. Yuna watched him. In that moment, with the light falling on his face and wonder in his eyes, he did not look weak. He looked different, like something she had never seen before. "Why did you agree to this marriage?" she asked suddenly. "What do humans gain from it?" Ji-hoon turned to her. "Peace. That is all we want. We are new to this galaxy. We have no desire for war or conquest. We just want to explore, to learn, to grow. If marrying you can help stop a war that has killed millions, then it is worth it. Even if I never love you, even if we remain strangers for the rest of your short life." He laughed softly. "My life may be short to you, but it is the only one I have. I would rather spend it trying to do good than worrying about what I cannot have." Yuna did not know what to say. This human confused her. He was nothing like what she expected. He was not weak or stupid or arrogant. He was simply kind. Perhaps this marriage would not be as terrible as she feared. Perhaps there was more to humans than the galaxy believed. But she would not let her guard down. Not yet. She had seen too much war to trust so easily. The 3 days before the wedding would tell her more. For now, she would watch and wait. And if this human proved to be like all the others, selfish, greedy, false, she would make sure he regretted ever stepping foot on Valorian soil. But something in his eyes told her that might not happen. Something told her that Ji-hoon was different. She just did not know how different yet. The wedding was simple and quick. Yuna and Ji-hoon stood before the emperor, spoke the ancient words, and pressed their palms together in the traditional bond. There were no fireworks, no great celebration. This was a political union, not a love story. Everyone knew it. Afterward, they boarded the diplomatic vessel that would take them to the neutral zone. The peace conference was waiting. Leaders from both sides of the war would meet for the first time in decades. If things went well, the fighting could end within months. If things went badly, The war would continue for another generation. The ship was called the Silver Dawn. It was one of the finest vessels in the Valorian fleet, fast, strong, and beautiful. 200 crew members worked on board, along with 50 elite guards. The best soldiers the Empire had to offer would protect the princess and her new husband. Yuna spent most of her time in her quarters during the first 2 days of travel. She was not avoiding Ji-hoon, or so she told herself. She simply needed time to think. Everything had happened so fast. One moment she was a warrior princess, free to fight and command. The next she was a wife, bound to a stranger from a strange world. On the third day, she found Ji-hoon in the observation deck. He stood alone by the great window, watching the stars pass by. The blue light of hyperspace made his skin look almost silver, almost Valorian. "May I join you?" she asked. He turned and smiled. "Of course. This view is too beautiful to enjoy alone." She walked to stand beside him. The stars stretched into long lines as the ship moved faster than light. It was a sight she had seen 1,000 times, but she never grew tired of it. "You do not sleep much," she said. "I have noticed. Humans need more rest than we do. Yet you are always awake. I have trouble sleeping in new places. My mind keeps working, thinking about everything that could go wrong." "What could go wrong?" Ji-hoon was quiet for a moment. "Many things. The Krath Coalition did not want this peace. There are those on your side who feel the same. We are traveling through space controlled by neither side. If someone wanted to stop the peace, they would attack this ship." Yuna finished. She had thought the same thing. "Our guards are the finest in the Empire. They would not dare. They would not dare. They would not dare." "I hope you are right." Something in his voice bothered her. There was no fear there, exactly. More like awareness. Like a soldier who had seen enough battles to know that hope was not always enough. "You have fought before," she said. It was not a question. "A few times. Nothing like your wars. Small conflicts, defensive actions. Humans try to avoid fighting when we can." "Because you are weak?" He looked at her. There was no anger in his eyes, but something else. Something she could not name. "Because we know what we become when we fight." Before she could ask what he meant, the ship shook violently. Alarms began to scream. Red lights flashed across every surface. The calm of hyperspace shattered like breaking glass. A voice came through the speakers. "All hands to battle stations. We are under attack." "Repeat. We are under attack." Yuna's training kicked in immediately. She grabbed the emergency console and pulled up the tactical display. What she saw made her blood run cold. 12 warships surrounded them. They had appeared from nowhere, dropping out of hyperspace in a perfect circle. Their markings were unfamiliar, not Valorian, not Krath. Pirates? Mercenaries? It did not matter. They were firing. "This is impossible," she said. "No one knew our route. This was kept secret." Someone talked. Ji-hoon said quietly. His voice was calm, but his eyes were moving fast, studying the display. Someone on one side or the other sold the information. The ship shook again. A section of the hull breached, and she heard screams from the lower decks. Her guards were already moving, taking positions throughout the ship, but 12 warships against one vessel, even with the Silver Dawn's defenses, they would not last long. "We need to reach the escape pods," Yuna said. "If we can get to the surface of that moon." The escape pods were destroyed in the first strike, a guard reported through the communication system. "We are trapped." "Princess, trapped." The word echoed in her mind. She had faced death before, but always with a chance to fight back. Here, in the cold emptiness of space, there was nowhere to run. The enemy ships launched boarding pods. Small metal shells, each carrying a dozen soldiers, shot toward the Silver Dawn like bullets. The ship's weapons destroyed some, but not enough, not nearly enough. "They will board us within minutes," Yuna said. She drew her sword, a weapon of pure energy that could cut through almost anything. "We will fight to the last breath." "How many guards do you have?" Ji-hoon asked. 47 still alive. against what looks like several hundred enemies. She looked at him. I am sorry. You should not have to die for a war that was not yours. Ji-hoon did not respond. He was looking at the tactical display, counting something. His lips moved slightly as he calculated. Princess, he said finally. I need you to do something for me. What? Stay here. No matter what happens, no matter what you see, stay here. She stared at him. You cannot be serious. I am a warrior. I will not hide while others fight for me. I know you are a warrior, but what I am about to do. He paused. Your people cannot know. Not yet. If word spreads, it will change everything. What are you talking about? You are one man, one human. What can you possibly do against hundreds? The first boarding pod hit the ship. She heard the metal scream as it tore through the hull. Shouts and gunfire echoed from somewhere below. Her guards were engaging the enemy. Ji-hoon took off his jacket. Beneath it, he wore a simple black shirt. His arms were covered in faint scars, thin lines that crossed his skin like a map of old battles. She had not noticed them before. He had hidden them well. Please, he said. Trust me. Just this once. There was something in his eyes. Something that had been hiding behind the kindness and the gentle smiles. Something old and dark and very, very dangerous. I will give you 10 minutes, she said. Then I am coming to fight. He nodded and walked toward the door. Before he left, he turned back to her. Your people think humans are weak because we do not have your gifts. We cannot read minds. We cannot survive without protection. We die easily and live short lives. He smiled, but it was not the warm smile she had seen before. This smile was different. But there is a reason every species on our planet either serves us or fears us. There is a reason we conquered our world before we even reached the stars. And what reason is that? We are very, very good at killing things. Then he was gone. Yuna stood by the window, her heart beating fast. She watched the tactical display as enemy soldiers poured into her ship. Dozens of them. Then 100. Then more. They spread through the corridors like a plague, killing everything in their path. Her guards fought bravely. She watched their signals disappear one by one. Each lost light was a life ended. A warrior fallen. She wanted to scream. She wanted to rush out and fight beside them, but something held her back. Trust me, he had said. She waited. 5 minutes passed. The enemy was everywhere now. They were heading toward the bridge, toward her location. Soon they would break through. And she would finally be able to fight. At least she would die with a sword in her hand. Then something changed on the display. Enemy signals began to disappear. 1 at a time at first, then faster. 2, 5, 10, 20. The lights blinked out like stars dying in fast motion. The pattern moved through the ship like a wave, starting from the lower decks and rising higher. Yuna zoomed in on the security footage. What she saw made her forget to breathe. Ji-hoon was moving through the corridors, but moving was not the right word. He was a blur, a shadow that appeared and disappeared faster than her eyes could follow. Enemy soldiers fired at him, but their shots hit nothing. He was already gone, already behind them, already tearing through their armor with his bare hands. She watched him grab a soldier twice his size and throw him through a metal wall. She watched him dodge a plasma blast and break the shooter's neck in the same motion. She watched him move through a crowd of enemies like they were standing still, leaving bodies behind him like fallen leaves. This was not possible. Humans were weak. Everyone knew that. Everyone said that. Everyone was wrong. The enemy commander tried to retreat. Ji-hoon caught up with him in 3 steps. There was a brief struggle, then silence. The commander's body fell to the floor. On the display, the last few enemy signals blinked out. The ship was quiet now. The alarms stopped. The red lights faded to normal. Yuna stood frozen by the window. Her hands were shaking. She had seen many things in her 300 years. She had witnessed battles that killed millions. She had faced monsters from the darkest corners of the galaxy, but she had never seen anything like this. The door opened. Ji-hoon walked in. His clothes were torn and covered in blood. None of it his own. There was not a single wound on his body. He looked tired, but unhurt. "It is done," he said simply. "The ship is safe." Yuna found her voice. What are you?" Ji-hoon looked at her with those calm, dark eyes. For a moment, she saw the creature that had just killed hundreds of warriors in minutes. Then the softness returned, and he was just a man again. "I am human," he said. "Nothing more, nothing less." He walked past her and sat down by the window. The stars continued to pass by outside. The universe kept moving. Uncaring. Eternal. "You should rest," he said. "We still have a long journey ahead." Yuna did not move. She could not move. Everything she knew about humans, about the galaxy, about her place in it, all of it was crumbling. She had married what she thought was a lamb. She was beginning to realize she had married a wolf. The Silver Dawn limped through space for 2 more days. The damage was severe. Half the crew was dead. Most of the guards had fallen defending the ship. But somehow, impossibly, they were still alive. Yuna spent those 2 days watching Ji-hoon. She watched him help repair broken systems. She watched him carry wounded soldiers to the medical bay. She watched him speak soft words to dying crew members, holding their hands until they passed. He was gentle, kind, patient, the same man she had met in the palace gardens, but she could not forget what she had seen. The images played in her mind over and over. The speed, the strength, the terrible efficiency of his violence. He had killed more than 200 trained soldiers in less than 10 minutes, alone, unarmed. On the second night, she found him in the cargo bay. He was sitting on a metal crate, cleaning blood from his boots. The lights were dim, and shadows covered half his face. "You have questions," he said without looking up. "Many questions." "Then ask." Yuna walked closer and sat on a crate across from him. The distance between them felt both too far and too close at the same time. "How?" she asked. "How is any of that possible? We have studied humans for years. Your biology is well documented. You should not be able to do what you did." Ji-hoon set down his boots and looked at her. His eyes were tired, but there was no regret in them. "What do you know about Earth?" he asked. "Your home world, a small planet with 1 moon. Mostly water. Moderate climate." "Moderate climate," he laughed softly. "That is what the reports say, yes. But they do not tell the full story." He stood and walked to the small window in the cargo bay wall. The stars looked back at him like cold, distant eyes. "Earth is a death world," he said. "Everything there is trying to kill everything else. The air is filled with invisible creatures that invade our bodies and make us sick. The water contains poisons and predators. The ground shakes and swallows cities whole. Fire falls from the sky. The temperature changes so fast that entire species die in a single generation." Yuna listened carefully. She had heard some of this before, but never told this way. "And the animals," Ji-hoon continued. "Oh, the animals. Creatures with teeth longer than your arm. Hunters that can smell blood from miles away. Swarms of tiny insects that can kill in seconds. Monsters in the deep ocean that we have not even fully discovered yet. Every single part of our planet is trying to murder us. But humans survived. We did more than survive. We conquered. We became the most dangerous thing on that entire world. Do you know how?" "And Yuna shook her head. "We evolved to never stop. Other creatures run until they are tired. Then they rest. We run until our legs break, and then we crawl. Other creatures fight until they are hurt. Then they retreat. We fight until we are dead. Our bodies heal from wounds that would kill most species. Our brains can ignore pain and fear when we need to. We can push ourselves past every limit, break every boundary, do things that should be impossible." He turned to face her. In the dim light, he looked different. Older. Harder. When we were still living in caves, we hunted animals 10 times our size. We did not have claws or fangs or armor. We had patience and endurance, and the willingness to keep going when everything inside us screamed to stop. We would chase prey for days, running and walking without rest until the animal simply collapsed from exhaustion. Then we would kill it with sharp rocks. Yuna felt something cold move through her. This was not the story humans told the galaxy. This was something else. Something they had hidden. "Why do you not show this to other species?" she asked. "Why pretend to be weak?" "Because we learned something during our long history. We learned that being seen as weak has advantages. When you are weak, no one fears you. No one tries to destroy you before you become a threat. You can grow, learn, build, all while others ignore you. You have been hiding. We have been waiting. Humans are patient. We can wait for years, for decades, for centuries. We do not forget, and we do not forgive. Every species that has ever tried to hurt us has learned this lesson eventually. Most of them no longer exist." The ship shuddered slightly as it moved through an asteroid field. Yuna barely noticed. Her mind was racing, putting together pieces of a puzzle she had not known existed. "The Krath Coalition," she said slowly. "The ones who attacked us. They did not know about this. No. Very few do. The human government keeps our true nature classified. We only reveal it when there is no other choice, or when we have decided that someone needs to be reminded." "Reminded of what?" Ji-hoon walked toward her. He stopped just a few feet away, close enough that she could see every detail of his face. His eyes were dark and deep, like looking into a well with no bottom. "That humans are not to be hunted, not to be threatened, not to be tested." Yuna held his gaze. She was not afraid, she refused to be afraid, but she understood now why he had asked her to stay behind. If she had seen this during the battle, if she had felt the full weight of what he was capable of, she might have made a mistake. She might have tried to stop him or gotten in his way. "Those soldiers," she said, "they had families, lives. They were just following orders." "Yes, and you killed them anyway. They came to kill you, to kill everyone on this ship, to destroy the peace that could save millions of lives. I gave them a choice. They could have surrendered. Some tried to run. I let those ones go." "You let them go?" 12 of them escaped. They will tell others what happened here. Word will spread. And maybe the next group will think twice before attacking a human or anyone under human protection." Yuna did not know what to feel. Horror, respect, fear, all of it mixed together inside her like colors bleeding into each other. "Why did you marry me?" she asked suddenly. The truth. Not the political answer. Ji-hoon was quiet for a long moment. Then he sat back down on the crate, and suddenly he looked tired again. Just a man. Just a human with a short life and heavy burdens. "Because I believe in peace," he said. "Not the fake peace of fear and domination. Real peace, where species can live together without killing each other. I thought this marriage could help build that. I thought maybe, if a human and a Valorian could find a way to understand each other, others could too. Even though I might never love you, love is not something you can force or demand. It grows or it does not. All I can do is be honest with you, protect you, and hope that someday you might see me as more than a political tool." Yuna looked at him, really looked at him, past the blood on his clothes, past the violence she had witnessed, past all her assumptions about what humans were and were not. She saw a man who had walked into a battle against impossible odds to protect strangers. A man who had killed without hesitation and then cried over the bodies of fallen crew members. A man who wanted peace badly enough to marry someone who did not want him. "You confuse me," she said. "I know. I confuse myself sometimes. What happens now, when we reach the peace conference? When others learn what you can do? That depends on many things. The enemy will be afraid fear can make people do stupid things or smart things. Your people will want answers. The galaxy will have to decide how to deal with a species that has been lying about its true nature for centuries. And us? What happens to us?" Ji-hoon looked at her. That gentle smile returned to his face, the one she had first seen in the palace. "That is up to you, princess. I made you a promise on our wedding day. I will keep it. Whatever you want this marriage to be, that is what it will be." The ship moved on through the stars. Somewhere ahead, a peace conference was waiting. Leaders and generals and diplomats would argue and bargain and try to end 60 years of war. They did not know what was coming. They did not know that everything had changed. Yuna stood up and walked toward the door. She paused before leaving. "Ji-hun." "Yes? Thank you, for saving my life, for saving the ship." He nodded. "You are welcome." She left the cargo bay and walked back to her quarters. Her mind was full of new thoughts, new possibilities, new fears. The universe looked different now, bigger and more dangerous, and somehow more hopeful at the same time. She had married a human to end a war. She was beginning to understand that she had married something far more important than that. She had married a bridge between worlds, a man who could destroy armies and still weep for the fallen. A contradiction wrapped in flesh and blood. A monster and a saint in the same body. And somehow, against all logic and reason, she was starting to trust him. The peace conference took place on a space station floating in neutral territory. It was a massive structure, built decades ago as a symbol of hope. A place where enemies could meet without fear. Now that hope felt fragile, like glass about to shatter. News of the attack had spread quickly. The story changed with each telling. Some said pirates had ambushed the diplomatic ship. Others whispered about traitors and conspiracies. But the strangest stories were about the human, the new husband of Princess Yuna, who had somehow saved the ship single-handedly. Most people did not believe those stories. How could they? The idea of one human defeating hundreds of soldiers was ridiculous. Laughable. Impossible. Yuna walked through the station's halls with Ji-hun at her side. She noticed how people looked at them. The Valorians stared with curiosity and suspicion. The Krath delegates' enemies she had fought against for decades watched with barely hidden hatred. And the humans looked at Ji-hun with knowing eyes. They understood something that others did not. The main conference room was vast. A circular table sat in the center, large enough for 30 delegates. Representatives from both empires took their seats, along with observers from a dozen neutral species. Tension filled the air like smoke before a fire. Yuna sat between her father's representative and Ji-hun. She was here as both a princess and a symbol of the new alliance with humans. Her role was to observe, not speak. That suited her fine. She had too much on her mind to worry about politics. The negotiations began slowly. Both sides made demands. Both sides refused to give ground. 60 years of war had created wounds that words alone could not heal. Billions had died. Entire planets had been destroyed. Hatred ran deep in both empires. Hours passed. Progress was measured in small steps, a territory here, a prisoner exchange there. Yuna watched and listened. She noticed how the Krath delegates kept glancing at Ji-hun. They knew something. Word must have reached them about the attack. During a short break, one of the Krath generals approached their table. He was an old warrior with scars covering half his face. His species had 4 arms and scales like a serpent. His name was Torak, and Yuna had faced him in battle twice before. "Princess," Torak said. His voice was like gravel scraping against metal. "I see you survived the unfortunate incident." "I did. No thanks to whoever sent those attackers." "Indeed. A terrible tragedy. So many good soldiers lost." His eyes moved to Ji-hun. "I have heard interesting stories about your husband. Stories that seem too fantastic to be true." Ji-hun smiled politely. "Stories often grow larger in the telling, perhaps. But the soldiers who escaped told very specific stories. They described a creature that moved like lightning and killed like a plague. They said it wore the face of a human, but fought like nothing they had ever seen. Survivors often exaggerate. Fear does strange things to memory." Torak leaned closer. His breath smelled like sulfur. "I have fought humans before, on the colony of Crest 7. When your people first started expanding, you were weak, fragile. We killed them easily." He smiled, showing rows of sharp teeth. Have things changed? Ji-hoon's expression did not change. I would not know. I have never been to Crest 7. The tension between them was visible. Other delegates had stopped talking to watch. Yuna's hand moved toward her hidden weapon, ready for anything. Perhaps, Torak said slowly. We should find out. After these talks are finished, I would like to propose a friendly demonstration. A test of strength between our two species, just to settle these stories once and for all. I appreciate the offer, Ji-hoon said, but I do not see the point. These negotiations are about peace, not combat. Afraid? Cautious. There is a difference. Torak laughed. It was an ugly sound. The human is careful with his words. Smart. But words cannot hide the truth forever. He turned and walked back to his delegation. Yuna watched him go. He is trying to provoke you. Yes. Why? Because fear makes people desperate. If the Krath can prove that humans are weak, they can dismiss the stories. They can convince themselves that the attack was a fluke, that we are not a threat. But if they cannot prove it, then they will be afraid. And afraid people make bad decisions. The negotiations resumed. The atmosphere had changed. More delegates were watching Ji-hoon now. Questions hung in the air, unspoken but heavy. What were humans really capable of? Had they been hiding their true nature? What did this mean for the balance of power? By the end of the first day, a preliminary agreement was reached. Both sides would withdraw from contested territories. Prisoners would be exchanged. A permanent ceasefire would go into effect within 30 days. It was more progress than anyone had expected. But Yuna knew it was fragile. Too many people on both sides wanted the war to continue. Too many had invested everything in hatred and vengeance. That night, she found Ji-hoon standing on one of the station's observation platforms. The entire galaxy spread out before them, billions of stars. Countless worlds. Endless possibility. You handled Torak well, she said. He wanted me to lose control. To show what I am in front of everyone. I almost did. Why did you not? Ji-hoon turned to face her. In the starlight, his eyes looked almost silver. Because violence should be a last resort, not a first response. The moment I start using force to solve every problem, I become what others fear. A weapon. A tool of destruction. That is not what I want to be, but you are capable of it. You proved that on the ship. Being capable of something and choosing to do it are different things. A wise man once said that the true measure of a person is not what they can do, but what they choose to do. Yuna moved to stand beside him. She was close enough to feel the warmth of his body. Human warmth higher than hers, constant and alive. What will happen if Torak pushes harder? If he forces a confrontation, then I will do what I must. But I hope it does not come to that. Hope. Yuna looked out at the stars. I used to believe hope was weakness. A lie we told ourselves to avoid facing harsh truths. The war taught me that. I saw friends die believing things would get better. They never did. Do you still believe that? She thought for a moment. I do not know anymore. I have seen too much in the last few days. You have made me question many things. Is that good or bad? I am not sure yet. They stood in silence for a while. The station hummed around them, full of sleeping diplomats and watchful guards. Somewhere in the corridors, enemies were planning and plotting. The peace was not yet won. Tell me about Earth, Yuna said suddenly. Not the Death World stories. Tell me something beautiful. Tell me something beautiful. Ji-hoon was quiet for a moment. Then he spoke. There is a place on Earth called the Valley of Fireflies. It is deep in a mountain forest, surrounded by ancient trees. Once a year, millions of tiny insects gather there. They light up like stars, all at the same time, filling the darkness with green light. When you stand in the middle of it, you feel like you are floating in space. It sounds peaceful. It is. I went there once, when I was young, before I was trained for this. He gestured vaguely at himself. I remember standing there, watching the lights, and thinking that this was what life should be. Beautiful, quiet, full of wonder. Do you miss it? Every day. Yuna felt something shift inside her. Not trust, exactly not yet. But something close. An opening. A possibility. When this is over, she said. When the peace is signed, and the fighting has stopped. Would you take me there? Ji-hoon looked at her. Surprise flickered across his face. Then something warmer. I would like that very much. A sound came from the corridor behind them. Footsteps. Many of them. Moving fast. Ji-hoon reacted instantly. He stepped in front of Yuna, his body tense and ready. His eyes scanned the darkness. A group of Valorian guards emerged from the shadows. At their head was Lord Hyun, one of her father's most trusted advisors. His face was pale with worry. Princess, he said, you must come quickly. Something has happened. What? The Krath delegation. They have made new demands. They want proof that the attack on your ship was not staged by humans. They are accusing your husband of war crimes. Yuna felt ice spread through her veins. That is ridiculous. We were the ones attacked. The survivors told a different story. They claim they were hired by human agents to create an excuse for violence. They say your husband murdered their comrades without cause. They are lying. Perhaps, but without proof, their accusations will spread. Some of our own delegates are beginning to believe them. The peace is falling apart. Yuna looked at Ji-hoon. His face was calm, but she could see the storm behind his eyes. What do they want? She asked. A tribunal. Your husband must answer their questions. If he is found innocent, the peace will continue. If not, Lord Hyun did not answer. He did not need to. Yuna turned to Ji-hoon. We will fight this. We will prove your innocence. And if we cannot? He asked quietly. She reached out and took his hand. It was warm in her grip, human warmth, strange and familiar at the same time. Then we will face it together. It was the first time she had touched him willingly since their wedding. The first time she had chosen to stand with him instead of apart. Ji-hoon squeezed her hand gently. In his eyes, she saw something that looked like gratitude. Or maybe hope. The storm was coming. Enemies surrounded them. The peace hung by a thread. But for the first time, Yuna did not feel alone. The tribunal took place in a chamber deep within the station. Representatives from both empires sat in raised seats, looking down at the center floor where Ji-hoon stood alone. The air was thick with hostility. Guards lined every wall. Weapons were ready. Yuna sat in the gallery above, watching helplessly. Her people had forbidden her from speaking during the proceedings. She was a princess, not a witness. Her word meant nothing in this court. General Torak presented the case against Ji-hoon. He brought forward the surviving soldiers, the 12 who had escaped the ship. They told their stories one by one. They described being attacked without warning. They spoke of their comrades dying in terror. They painted Ji-hoon as a monster, a demon in human form. The tribunal listened. Some nodded in agreement. Others looked uncertain. The human delegation sat in silence, their faces revealing nothing. When the witnesses finished, the head judge, a neutral observer from a distant species, turned to Ji-hoon. Human, the judge said. You have heard the accusations. How do you answer? Ji-hoon stood straight. His voice was clear and calm. I answer with the truth. Yes, I killed those soldiers. I killed them because they attacked my ship. I killed them because they were going to murder my wife, our crew, and everyone on board. I killed them to protect innocent lives. Murmurs spread through the chamber. Torak smiled. He had expected a denial, not a confession. So you admit to the crime, Torak said. You admit to slaughtering over 200 warriors without mercy. I admit to defending my ship. There is a difference. The survivors say they tried to surrender. You killed them anyway. That is a lie. I let 12 of them escape. They stand before you now. If I wanted no survivors, there would be none. Silence fell. Some delegates looked at the survivors with new eyes. If Ji-hoon had truly wanted to leave no witnesses, why would he have let anyone live? The head judge spoke again. Human. The evidence is conflicting. Both sides claim different truths. Without additional proof, this tribunal cannot reach a verdict. Then allow me to provide proof. Ji-hoon reached into his pocket. Guards raised their weapons, but he moved slowly, pulling out a small device. It was a data chip standard recording equipment. This is the security footage from the Silver Dawn. It shows everything that happened during the attack. Every moment. Every death. Every choice I made. Torak's smile faded. That footage could be altered. We cannot trust human technology. Then have your own experts examine it. Have neutral observers. Verify its authenticity. I have nothing to hide. The head judge considered this. After a long moment, he nodded. The tribunal will take a recess. The evidence will be examined by representatives from all parties. We will reconvene in 6 hours. The chamber began to empty. Ji-hoon remained where he stood, alone on the floor, as diplomats and soldiers filed past him. Some looked at him with hatred, others with curiosity, a few with something like respect. Yuna made her way down to him as quickly as the crowd allowed. When she reached him, she found him looking at the ceiling, as if counting the lights above. "Why did you not tell me about the recording?" she asked. "I was not sure I would need it, and I was not sure I wanted you to watch it. I have already seen what you can do. You saw part of it. The recording shows everything. Every kill. Every moment. It is not pleasant viewing." Yuna understood. He was trying to protect her. Even now, accused of murder and surrounded by enemies, he was thinking of her feelings. "I want to see it," she said. He looked at her. "Are you sure?" "I need to understand. Completely. I cannot trust what I do not know." Ji-hoon nodded slowly. "Then I will show you." They went to a private room nearby. Ji-hoon activated the recording on a wall screen. The footage was sharp and clear. High-quality security cameras had captured everything. Yuna watched the attack begin. She watched the boarding pods hit the ship. She watched enemy soldiers pour through the breached hulls, killing crew members who tried to flee. She saw her guards fight and fall. She saw her people die. Then Ji-hoon entered the frame. He moved through the corridors like water flowing downhill, natural, unstoppable, inevitable. His movements were precise and efficient. There was no wasted motion, no hesitation. Every strike landed exactly where it needed to land. But it was not just the violence that struck her. It was what happened between the violence. She watched Ji-hoon pause to check if a fallen crew member was still alive. She saw him motion for enemies to drop their weapons, giving them chances to surrender. She observed him step over those who had stopped fighting and attack only those who continued. And she saw the moment when a young soldier barely more than a child raised his hands in terror. Ji-hoon stopped. He could have killed the boy easily. Instead, he pointed toward an escape pod and shouted for him to run. The boy ran. He lived. The recording ended. The room was silent. "You gave them chances," Yuna said quietly. "You could have killed them all. But you gave them chances. Most did not take them. But some did. The ones who had not yet learned to love war." Yuna looked at the frozen screen. The image showed Ji-hoon standing in a corridor filled with fallen enemies. His face was covered in blood. His hands were red. But his eyes looked tired, sad, like a man who had done something terrible and knew there was no other way. "This will clear your name," she said. "Perhaps. Or perhaps they will find other reasons to condemn me. Politics rarely follows logic. Or." She moved closer to him. Close enough to see the lines of worry around his eyes. Close enough to feel his warmth. "I have been thinking," she said, "about what you told me. About what humans are. About what you are. And I was raised to believe that strength meant never showing weakness, that power meant never needing anyone else. My people valued cold logic over warm emotion. We saw feeling as a flaw to be overcome. Many species think that way, but you do not. You have more strength than anyone I have ever met. Yet you choose gentleness. You could take whatever you wanted by force, yet you ask permission. You can kill armies, yet you weep for the fallen. Ji-hoon said nothing. He just watched her with those deep, dark eyes. I think, Yuna continued, that I was wrong about humans, and I think I was wrong about you. What do you believe now? She reached out and took his hand, her silver fingers wrapped around his warm brown ones. I believe that true strength is not about destruction. It is about choice. The power to destroy, and the wisdom to build instead. The ability to hate, and the courage to love anyway. Ji-hoon's breath caught. For a moment, the walls behind his eyes crumbled. She saw something raw there. Hope, fear, longing, things he had kept hidden. Yuna, he said softly, I do not expect anything from you. This marriage was political. You owe me nothing, I know. That is why this means something. She stepped closer. They were almost touching now. She could hear his heartbeat faster than hers. Stronger. So alive. I am not saying I love you, she said. Not yet. That would be too fast. But I am saying that I want to try. I want to know you. Really know you. Not the ambassador. Not the weapon you. The man who cries over fireflies and fights for peace. Ji-hoon smiled. It was the gentle smile she had first seen in the palace, but deeper now, full of meaning. I would like that, he said. The tribunal reconvened 6 hours later. The evidence was examined and declared authentic. The recording showed everything, the attack, the defense, the moments of mercy amid the violence. The verdict came quickly. Ji-hoon was innocent of all charges. The attack had been unprovoked aggression. His response had been proportional defense. The surviving soldiers had lied to protect their employers. General Torek was not pleased. His face twisted with rage as the verdict was announced. He stood and pointed at Ji-hoon with one of his 4 arms. This changes nothing, he declared. The humans have revealed their true nature. They are monsters wearing the masks of diplomacy. The Krath Coalition will never accept peace with such creatures. The chamber erupted in argument. Delegates shouted at each other. The fragile peace began to crack. Ji-hoon raised his hand. Slowly, the chamber fell silent. Even Torak stopped speaking. General, Ji-hoon said, you call us monsters. Perhaps you are right. We are capable of terrible things. But I want to ask you a question, Torak sneered. Ask, in 60 years of war, how many of your people have died? Millions, because of Valorian aggression. And how many Valorians have died? The Valorian representative answered, also millions, because of Krath. Attacks. Ji-hoon nodded. Millions on both sides. Children without parents. Parents without children. Entire worlds burned to ash. And for what? Territory? Pride? Revenge? He walked to the center of the chamber. Every eye was on him. Humans have been traveling among the stars for 200 years. In that time, we have fought 3 major conflicts. Each time, we won. Each time, our enemies were destroyed so completely that they no longer exist. We do not fight long wars. We end them. Permanently. The chamber was absolutely silent. But we do not want that here. We do not want to end your species. We want to help you end this war peacefully, not because we are weak or afraid, but because we truly believe, that there is a better way. He turned to face both delegations equally. The choice is yours. You can continue fighting until one side destroys the other. Or you can choose peace. You can choose to build something better. You can choose to prove that intelligent beings are capable of more than just killing each other. General Torak stared at him. Something shifted in the old warrior's eyes. Fear. Yes, but something else too. Something that might have been exhaustion. 60 years was a long time to hate. And if we choose peace, Torak asked slowly, what guarantee do we have that humans will not turn on us later? None. Just as you have no guarantee that we will not turn on anyone else. Trust cannot be guaranteed. It must be earned. But I am here, married to a Valorian princess, because I believe it is worth trying. He looked at Yuna. She met his gaze and nodded. We are all tired, Jihoon said. All of us. Tired of war. Tired of death. Tired of watching our children die for causes they barely understand. So let us stop. Let us finally, after all these years, just stop. The silence stretched. Then, slowly, the Krath representative next to Torak stood. The coalition will accept peace, he said. His voice was rough, reluctant but sincere. If the Valorian Empire agrees to the terms, the Valorian representative stood as well. The Empire agrees. It was done. After 60 years, the war was over. Yuna found Jihoon later, standing alone on the observation platform where they had talked before. The stars were beautiful. The future was uncertain. But for the first time in a long time, it felt hopeful. She walked up beside him and took his hand. You did it, she said. We did it. All of us. I just said words. Words matter. They can start wars or end them. He turned to look at her. In the starlight, he looked younger somehow. Lighter. So, he said, what happens now? Now we go home. Build the peace. Learn to trust each other. She smiled. And maybe, someday, you can show me those fireflies. Jihoon laughed. It was a warm sound, full of life and hope. I would like that very much. They stood together, hand in hand, watching the stars. Behind them, a galaxy was changing. Species that had been enemies were learning to be neighbors. A war that had lasted generations was finally ending. And at the center of it all, a princess who had married for politics was beginning to feel something she had never expected. She had married a human to end a war. She was starting to realize she had found something far more valuable. She had found a partner,